Hi, my name is Ismael Gomez. My father was always an alcoholic, and I always looked up to my father when I was a kid. I felt like he was a good role model for me. And my older brother was always my father's favorite. And my older brother was, when my father would bring out his bottle of liquor, my older brother would always, get a little drink of it, and my father was very, proud of him. That's my son. You're number one. You're my number one. And I wanted to be that number one, so I wanted to impress my father too. So when he told me, hey, drink some of this, and I took that cup and I drank it down. I can remember the first time I took a sip of that. It was horrible, but it felt so good when my father said, yeah, that's my son. I'm proud of you. About 11 years old, I was already drinking, stealing my father's tequila. My father always drank tequila his whole life, pure, just straight up. So I would go and sneak into his cabinet and just pull his bottle out, pour some in a cup, and then fill the rest up with water and mix it up and put it under the sink so that he would think it was still in the same spot. Well, my father found out, and he would whoop our butts. And I would take this, and we would get drunk. At that age, at 13 years old, I was already in a gang. I joined the gang. I was smoking weed. At that time, I no longer looked at my father as a role model. At that time, that had already passed. I was looking more into something. I wanted power, so I thought it was time for a change. That's when I joined that gang, and we started robbing people, selling drugs, breaking into cars, breaking into houses, doing all kinds of just illegal things or evil things, really. Well, at this time, we're already going through this, and my brother's, smoking weed, doing cocaine, staying out for days at a time. And that's the type of life I wanted, or I thought I wanted. And that's the time that I wanted to be spending out there in the streets, robbing people, wearing whatever I wanted to wear, spending whatever money I wanted to spend. I was out of my house by 14 years old. I was no longer in my home. I had already moved out with one of my homeboys, and I was kicking it, and we were always partying every day. Every day we always went out, clubs with different girls. We didn't care about no one else's life. We didn't even care about our own lives. Everyone in my neighborhood thought that at that time no one was going to make it past 18, because when this time came by, when I was about 14, 15, everybody started dying. My homeboys from the gang started dying, getting shot. And then we'd go back and forth, shooting each other back and forth, killing one another. This whole time, I'm thinking about when I'm gonna die. And I was ready to die. I thought I wasn't gonna live 18 years old. I didn't see anyone in my neighborhood. Either they were in prison or they were dead. Either they were robbing somebody or getting robbed. I was so close to dying so many times, getting shot at, shooting at people, back and forth. My brother got caught up in some crooked stuff. He went to jail, and when my brother went to jail, I could see that it was my own homeboys that kind of pushed it to where he got caught. And then everybody forgot about him. When you're in jail or in prison or anything like that, it's like time stops for you. Everybody forgets about you. My brother goes to jail, and at that time I felt like I was alone. I knew there and then that everybody in the gang, I couldn't count on nobody. All they wanted was drugs or something from you. If you didn't have nothing to offer, they didn't care about you. And I thought this was supposed to be the opposite. I thought this was that family that I never had. I thought this was the future I never had. My brother comes out of jail. He comes out of jail saying, hey, I met this man when I was in jail, and he changed my life. And I said, what man can change your life? There's no such thing a man that can change your life. You know, and he says, yeah, there's this man, he can change your life. His name is Jesus. I said, oh, he lost it. You know, right there and then, I said, I lost my brother. And now I saw something different. I said, well, he didn't die. He's no longer in jail, but he's nuts. I felt betrayed completely. He moved out of the neighborhood. I said, man, he's a traitor. To me, he was a traitor. To me, he was no longer, I felt like he was no longer my brother. Not only in blood, but in gang and everything. I felt like he was gone. I felt like I was gone. I felt like I had no more purpose in life. I knew it was time for me. There and then I decided, whenever I die, I'm ready. I no longer care what happens. Well, things got worse and worse. My other homeboys started going to prison and turned on each other. I mean, this so-called family, this so-called gang turned on each other all over the place. Just backstabbing each other, just robbing each other. I mean, this never happened. It was the first time for myself to see this. And you know what? I didn't care anymore, because you know what? This whole time, all I saw was all my homeboys that would go to prison were forgotten. They were a legend. That's all. It was the past. No longer existed. I was sitting at one of my dope houses about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I remember right there and then I could hear my heart. I had been up for days, pounding. When you do a lot of cocaine at one time, your heart just wants to pop out of your chest. My homeboy came outside and said, hey, Mayo, let's go inside. There's girls, there's beer, there's coke. Let's go inside. I was sitting outside and I said, nah, go ahead. I'll be right in there. I really wanted to be alone because I couldn't trust anybody. Well, when I tried to get up from where I was sitting like where I'm sitting here now. I wanted to just stand up and just jump up like that. When I tried to do so, I literally heard my heart stop. It just stopped. I tried to get up. My hands, they wouldn't react. My head or nothing. I thought I was having a heart attack. I also thought it was some real good dope, real good coke, or whatever I took earlier that day. I don't even remember. I took so many drugs. But then I heard a voice. I said, man, I'm really tripping now. I heard a voice say, where are you going in such a hurry? Where are you going in such a hurry? I knew there was a God. I cried out to God many nights before, because I was looking for a satisfaction through all these women, drugs, these rushes that I said I would get when I was robbing somebody. But nothing satisfied it. Nothing satisfied me. So when none of this would satisfy me, you know, I said, there's got to be something else. So I knew there was a God that was there, but I never had a relationship with him. So this night, I never make time. I always said, maybe later. I'm not ready. My brother invited me to church for over 2 years. And every time he showed up, I would light up a joint so he would leave. That night, God showed me a vision where all the bad things in my life that I had done, the robberies, selling dope, doing everything bad that I was doing, he showed me everything bad that I was gonna do. You know, it moved like a movie, and I'm sitting there and I couldn't even move, and I felt like I couldn't even blink. And I saw everything bad that I was doing, and it got to this one point. There's 4 guys on our knees. I'm the 4th guy. I couldn't see their faces. I could only see the back of their heads. I could see a gun coming to their back of their heads and shooting the first one. I could hear the blast, shooting the second one. Shooting the third one. And the fourth person was myself. And I could literally feel that steel in the back of my head. That gun touching the back of my head. And I could feel that blast when they pulled the trigger.